Hi, my name is Victoria Nanetti. I'm a community reporter for RPTV News. The following report is Regent Park community members depute at the Toronto and East York Community Council meeting on June 22nd, 2023. Recently, Regent Park residents, local advocates, and community members deputed at the Toronto and East York Community Council meeting for the discussion of the 325 Gerrard Street East, Regent Park Phases 4 and 5 zoning bylaw amendment and rental housing demolition applications decision report approval. The deputants were Miguel Avila, a Regent Park Neighborhood Association member, Zaheed Alli, a Regent Park resident, Berman, a heritage advocate, Ishmael Afra, chair of Regent Park Social Development Plan, Walid Kagali, a member of the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, Beattie, a Regent Park resident, Rabia Alsabaie and her daughter Sarah. Rabia is also co-chair of the SDP Community Working Group. And finally, Alli El-Chanti, a Regent Park resident. But before going to the June 22nd meeting, RPTV journalist Fred interviewed Regent Park residents Walid Kagali and little Mela Alsabaie and her sister Maya to learn more about what they had to say at the Toronto and East York Community Council meeting.
We had many residents depute. We had many Regent Park residents come out to speak out in favor of their community, and they made a simple ask, which is the motion be amended to address the challenges that we know will make it difficult for folks to live in our community. We want to make sure that social housing is deeply affordable.
We need to move into affordable housing to have that. And the prices are very expensive now, very expensive. And I also talked about how Toronto Community Housing actually said that me and my family, my dad recently had a brain tumor surgery, so a couple of months ago. So they said that we can't move into affordable housing unless my dad only has 2 years left to live, which is ridiculous.
And some people don't even have enough money to buy houses because they're getting really expensive, and some people can't afford it.
It's getting too out of hand. They're bringing too many people from outside Regent Park and bringing them in here, and some people don't, they have no choice but to move out of Regent Park. So Regent Park should get the priority to affordable housing, and it should be right now.
And some people don't even want to move out.
Olivia Chow has to put herself in other people's shoes, to know what they're going through. And just for her to solve the problem, because without solving the problem, no one is getting help. No one. So my message is, if you're going to do something, you need to do it now.
Good evening. I guess it's almost night. Everyone, chair and councillors, and as well as the public. So glad to be here. My name is Rabia Alsabaie, and I'm the co-chair of one of the 4 working groups for the STP, Social Development Plan, community building working group. Today, I'm speaking about a crisis me and my family have been experiencing, but my daughter, who I just picked her up from school trip close by, she decided to take this initiative and she wants to share.
I'm Sarah, and about a year ago, I prepared a letter to talk about my family's housing crisis. I left the letter at home because I just came back from a school field trip. My mom has been working in the community as a volunteer since we came to Canada. I was 10 months old when we came, and now I'm 10 years old. You know what that means? I'm getting older, and I'm pretty sure I need my own room. And even more upsetting, my dad had a brain tumor surgery a few months ago, and to add to that, Toronto Community Housing said we cannot move into a house or a building unit unless my dad has only 2 years left to live. People in Regent Park should get the priority to affordable housing units before opening it to the whole province. We live in Regent Park and we love where we live, and we will not move anywhere else. To bring people who don't know Regent Park community Even my parents tried to move into a private unit, but the prices are too high, almost $4,000 for a 3-bedroom, which is what we need. And before I end my speech, I want everyone to know that I live in a condominium. Thank you for letting me speak.
Are there any questions? Or Rabbia, do you have more you want to say?
Maybe, I guess.
Yeah,
Then
go ahead.
Thank you. So it's so lovely to see Councillor Bravo is here. We attended the class at OIZ before the pandemic. It's lovely to see someone who is in your class. You preparing for solutions and you brainstorming and all of that, and then she's lucky to get to be sitting on the policy as a policymaker. So I guess as a community developer, I tried one time to do one of my assignments on community housing and the crisis, and I found out just in Regent Park we have 53 units are empty in the new buildings. And when I went to the city and I told them, sorry, my apology to Toronto Community Housing, someone works for Toronto Community Housing, a manager, said to me, as long as they pay the rent. I don't know what does that mean, as long as people pay rent, and someone is paying rent too, but in a crisis, overhoused, 6 people in 1 bedroom, and then someone else locked an apartment, one washroom, thank you. Last week I got offered to get 3 bedrooms, just pay the rent and don't tell anyone. Just last week. Why we are doing this under the table? Why I cannot have that access to that apartment? It adds my rights and my kids' rights. We live in a country that respects human rights. So the first thing, I need roof before I go to education or feel safe. So we are not getting offered that. I guess people in power need to feel ashamed, I guess.
Thank you very much, Rabbia and Sarah. Are there any questions? No, seeing none.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next speaker, Miguel Avila. Please step forward.
Dear members of the Toronto and East York Community Council, I am a member of the Regent Park Neighborhood Association and tenant rep at 220 Oak Street. As a representative of Regent Park residents, we have been closely following the development plans and have some important points to raise with you before the application is considered for approval. The main points include the definition of affordable housing. The proposed plan should base affordable housing on income-based definitions, not market-based ones, and provide rent geared to income subsidies for new houses in phases 4 and 5. Thank you for the commitment to community facilities and services strategy. A clear strategy is needed for the development of community facilities and services that will support the numerous organizations operating in Regent Park. Is my time frozen? By the way, I don't see my time going. Can I talk to over 3 minutes?
Miguel, you have superpowers.
I got superpowers.
That's right. That was my fault.
Okay, so what was I? As members of the Toronto and East York Community Council, your support for Regent Park residents will be invaluable in ensuring that the redevelopment of our community truly prioritizes the needs and interests of its residents. For the additional affordable housing units committed as part of phases 4 and 5 rezoning, we seek your support in ensuring that the minimum tenure is 99 years and the minimum affordability secure is in line with the city's income-based definition, OPA 55A. And I want to thank you, Brother Walied, for mentioning this over and over throughout the day. We also ask you to continue to work with TCAC to advocate to other levels of government to find a path forward to attain subsidies to achieve deeper affordability, including additional rent geared to income. Currently, our community of Regent Park is outnumbered 7-3. Our residents our children are being displaced, are being told that there's no housing opportunities, and they're moving to cities like Councilor Bradford mentioned, and some time ago, that everybody's moving to Hamilton. And that is a fact, because there's no place where we know is affordable for anybody in the city. As Walied mentioned today, it's only 1% of affordable housing is being approved at this council. So again, please make sure that this community of Regent Park, the example of urbanism, is really what it's supposed to be. And we dream about it 20 years or 40 years now, and we want to see that happen. A successful project that everybody benefits from it, not just the rich, but also us, the tenants of Toronto Community Housing. And that concludes my deputation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. Are there any questions? No, seeing none. The next deputant I have listed is Zaheed Ali. Zaheed, I understand you're online. Can you hear us? And check that your microphone is unmuted.
There we go. Can everyone hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Zaheed Ali. Happy Pride, everyone. Considering the time crunch, I will make this very brief. I've been a resident here in Regent Park for over 5 years. We have, as you know, an incredible community here in Regent Park, residents who have been really engaged on this rezoning application. I'm proud as a market resident to live in this mixed income, diverse, inclusive neighborhood. And I'm excited to welcome many new neighbors into new housing as part of our incredible community, including the 637 new affordable units proposed in this plan. There's been a lot of discussion today about the limited number of affordable units and applications today. As highlighted, especially by Walied, but here we're talking about 637 new proposed units. And overall, I think it's clear that we all want to see this project through as a benchmark and model for city-owned lands in the future, as well as see new affordable housing built. So having read the planning report, having attended many of the community consultations and grassroots neighborhood conversations, I'm strongly agreeing with the recommendations made and hope the committee recommends approval of this report. At the same time, I hope the councillor and the committee, though, consider a potential recommendation in terms of the timing of the construction. And so I remind you that the Regent Park revitalization began in the early 2000s with a 10 to 15 year timeline. That timeline has come and gone. These next phases will extend probably into the next decade. And the burden of this extensive timeline is certainly felt by the residents here in Regent Park, from the dust to the construction to the tearing up of the streets, individuals who are waiting to return to their homes. But the 637 new proposed affordable units are only scheduled to be completed as part of the final phase, the final 2 buildings, in fact, as the funding for them is still to be negotiated. So effectively, if this project is only completed in a decade from now, we're not adding these potential new affordable units in the time of most need right now in the middle of our housing crisis. So my key ask today for the council and for this committee is to ensure that, if at all possible, as city-owned property, that there is a time-based mandate to ensure that, as much as possible, the construction timeline be respected and accelerated so we can get new affordable housing built, get former residents back into their homes, and then subsequently get the community into these new community spaces, including the new library, so we can realize the incredible potential of what Regent Park can do post-construction. So thank you for your consideration on that.
Thank you so much. Zaheed, are there any questions? No, seeing none. Zaheed, thank you for joining us today. The next deputant I have listed is Rabia Alsabaie. Rabia, not present. After that, I have Olivia Kung. Olivia? No? Simon Wong? Simon? No? Andre Berman? Andre? Hi, Andre, welcome.
I've ever waited to make a deputation.
I know. I appreciate everyone's patience today. There's tremendous interest in the work that we're doing at this community council, and we can't predict in advance how many people are going to sign up for deputations. Go ahead.
Yes, so dear Mr. Chair, councillors, city staff, and members of Toronto East York Community Council, my name is Andre Bermon, and while I am not a resident of Regent Park, I've been following this application process for the last 2 phases with keen interest, and therefore I would like to take this opportunity to share some thoughts and questions with members of this panel. In of itself, the application put forth has merit as a sound development scheme. However, in the context of its surrounding environment and the needs and wants of Regent Park and the broader community, I strongly believe this proposal is not reflective of broad public feedback and therefore suffers from a severe lack of scrutiny from city planning and from city planning staff and the councillor offices of which this proposal spanned. Beginning with the consultation process, according to the staff report attached to this agenda item, City Planning hosted 2 consultation meetings. The first one took place on June 9th, 2022, in response to the first proposal submission by Tridel and TCHC. The first submission proposed around 3,000 units, which is to be spread across 11 buildings ranging from heights from 4 to 38 stories. So this is quite a significant project. The feedback received, which is documented in this agenda staff report, lists a number of concerns. I will read some of them very quickly. And this is on the agenda item. Too many buildings in a small area, overcrowding, too much density in Regent Park. Building heights, too tall. On Gerrard Street and Oak Street, River Street, impact on view, feeling hemmed in. Impact on Cabbagetown, shadowing. Transition from proposed mid-rise buildings to low-rise buildings. Capacity of schools, daycares, transit, community centers, parks, grocery stores. And the most stark comment of them all, loss of neighborhood and community feel, quality of life. The public is made to believe that these issues raised at planning consultations are to be resolved with the applicant in a manner befitting the needs and wants of the community. Obviously, compromises are always made, but lo and behold, 5 months later, when the second proposal was submitted, the majority of city staff input was not reflective of the feedback given by the community. Looking at the second proposal, it is essentially the same, with minor modification to the plan's street network and build form. As predicted, the feedback given to the city staff on the second consultation, again, it's on the agenda item, is pretty much the same. I'd like to make a quick quote from City of Toronto's planning website on city planning consultations. Quote, "The city is working to broaden the participation in city building. Are you interested in shaping Toronto's future? We want to hear from you. I asked the panel, in terms of the plan's overall build form, what was shaped by public input? Because it's abundantly clear, looking at the 2 proposals, that concerns were ignored in favor of furthering the applicant's vision. What I've heard from Tridel and TCHC, final comment that whatever concerns on height and massing will undermine the city's ability to procure more housing. We are in a housing crisis after all. Yes, that is true, but the responsibility of providing affordable homes does not solely rely on the shoulders of this redevelopment scheme. Those who think dismiss the real consequences of what intensification does to communities without accompanying infrastructure." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Andre? Councillor Moyes?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Andre, for your deputation. You mentioned that there was 2 public meetings on this phases 4 and 5, but are you also aware that the community has had its own meetings, which I have attended? And secondly, I've also met members of the community in my own office here at City Hall. Are you aware of those meetings?
Yeah, I'm aware that there were many meetings in regards to this development.
And also too, the initial phases 4 and 5 proposal, do you feel that it has changed over the last 7 months since I've been here as a councillor to reflect some of the things the members of the public have been asking for? More specifically, perhaps community space, for example.
Yes, there was 2 proposals to this development, but this is what city staff had recorded. It's on the agenda item. So I am taking the words straight from city staff on what people's feedback were on both iterations. The April 2022 and the November 2022 proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Andre? Seeing none, Andre, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us today. Next, I have listed Ishmael Afra. Afternoon, Ishmael. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, thank you, committee. I know that today has been a long day. I hope I can have your attention because I do have a specific recommendation at the end that I'd like you to consider. My name is Ismail Afra, and I am the chair of the Regent Park Social Development Plan. As many of you know, this revitalization in Regent Park is built on 2 pillars or 2 legs. The first is the physical development, and the other is the social development. Social development means to transform lives by looking at the safety, community building, employment and economic development, and communication infrastructure of the neighborhood. I want you to keep these two pillars in mind. First, I'd like to start by thanking you for allowing me to depute and provide input into the process at every level. I want to thank Toronto Community Housing staff such as Peter Zimmerman, William Mendes, Shane, and Esha for working with residents and taking our feedback from early on in the process. I want to also thank the Tridel staff team, Brian, Maggie, and Asal, as well as city staff, Catherine Bailey, who's the senior planner, for our efforts to engage and being available to answer our questions. And lastly, I want to thank the Councillor Moyes and his office in encouraging clarity and frankness about the possibilities, opportunities, and limits of this proposal. My gratitude extends not just to allowing us to provide input into the process at every level, but that we see that input in the proposal before you, such as the allocation of further 637 new affordable housing, pending funding from other levels of government, the provision of 200 square meters of affordable community commercial, which is, as the Employment and Economic Development Chair, we're more than happy, the stipulation to continue to engage community in phases 4 and 5, and also the possibility of further community space at the top floor of the library if funding is found. I preface these comments to contextualize some critical points I'd like to offer for you to consider. First, I hope that, and many have spoken today, of new affordable housing, whether it will be based on the definition of affordability that's based on income, or whether it will be based on the old model. I know that this is not within your own jurisdiction, but hopefully some solutions could be worked out. I also wanted to point out that you should increase the maintenance of the replacement housing and new affordable housing more than 40 years. Because why 40? Because you could keep it longer. Because it says that after 40 years you can resell it, you can do all sorts of things. But given the housing crisis, why limit yourselves to only 40 years? And lastly, the 200 square meters of affordable community commercial, we've seen practices where affordable community commercial turns into something else, but I know that my time is off, but I would like to offer a specific recommendation. I want you to include City Council, Toronto Community Housing to commit to the refreshing of the social development plan every 4 years and to get a status update of its implementation, resourcing, and evaluation as a condition of this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ismail. Are there any questions? No? Thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts with us today. Next, I have Irina Iakovleva. Sorry. Irina?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here today to discuss an important matter that deeply affects our community. My neighbors and I want to express our strong opposition to this proposed rezoning application, which aims to increase the density in our area without providing any valid reason. During our last meeting on April 24th, many people expressed their concerns and negative opinions about this project. However, we haven't received clear answers regarding essential research on the impact of increased traffic, pollution, noise, and other consequences that will shape our future. Moreover, we still don't have a clear understanding of the actual increase in social housing. In a project presented by Daniels Construction almost 20 years ago, for the phase 4 and 5, they proposed 640 social housing units to replace the existing ones, along with the additional 500 units in nearby area. The current proposal includes 1,197 social units, which does not represent a substantial increase, and all those units are concentrated in a limited space. In contrast, there has been a significant expansion in the number of market residential units and commercial areas. We have noticed a concerning lack of additional schools or community amenities planned for this project. It is worth noting that approximately 40% of the population in the region area is under 18 years old, according to some internet publications. This raises the important questions. What options will these children have after school hours? I firmly believe that social and affordable housing should not only be accessible, but also provide livability. However, it is hard to imagine a desirable level of the livability in the area with such a high population density and lack of community amenities. along with the increased traffic, noise, and pollution. I urge the council to thoroughly reconsider and think about the long-term impact before approving this construction project, as it will significantly affect our downtown area and neighboring sites for the next many decades. Thank you for allowing me to express my opinion and represent the concerns shared by many of my neighbors.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? No? Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. We really do appreciate it. Next, I have listed Walid Kagali.
Afternoon, my friends. I'm not gonna repeat the points raised by Regent Park residents. I think they're very important, but I'm gonna ask members of Community Council to refer to the letter from the Regent Park Neighborhood Association. And the letter requests members of Community Council to put forward amendments that will address the following main points: protecting our social housing, additional income-based affordable housing, prioritizing community and public spaces, but also a comprehensive community services and facilities strategy. Now, I'm gonna talk about the last point because it's a point that I've been trying to make throughout the day if you've been listening to my deputations. One of the things that I realized with this process was that Tridel and TCHC put their submission in April of 2021. As you're all aware, OPA 558 took effect in December of 2021. They then resubmitted the application in April 2022, which is when OPA 558 was also being challenged. And what I would like is a commitment from Tridel, which is a for-profit development firm, and TCHC, which is one of Canada, I think Canada's largest social housing providers, that they will stick to the definition of affordable housing that's based on income, not based on market. I've asked this question: who are you building housing for? In Regent Park, if this policy change is made, it is going to displace racialized Black, racialized Indigenous members of our community. We cannot allow that to happen. The second thing that I want to point your attention to is the secondary plan for phases 1 to 3 only committed 25 years of affordable housing, social housing. That is going to expire in exactly 10 years. That is 2034. If we do not address that challenge now, we're just going to be kicking the bucket later on, and many of my neighbors are going to live with anxiety, not knowing whether they will be able to live in the community in housing units that are committed to be subsidized. The other thing is the proposed units in this application, the tenure is only 40 years. And I want to echo what Ishmael Afra, one of our co-chairs of the Social Development Plan, said. We need to extend that from 40 years to 99 years or in perpetuity. At a bare minimum, that needs to happen. Lastly, I would like for you folks to consider funding the Social Development Plan in Regent Park, because you cannot have physical development but ignore the people that make our communities special. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Walied? No, seeing none. Walied, thank you so much. The next deputant I have listed is Stephanie Beattie. Stephanie? Stephanie, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Stephanie. Welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a resident of Regent Park, asking the city to stand behind the official plan for this community and demand the completion of this redevelopment without any more delays, changes, or increases to market housing. The rezoning before you would do the opposite, and it is extremely problematic. First, the secondary plan for Regent Park clearly states that this is to be a mid-density neighborhood of predominantly low and mid-rise buildings. with a few tall towers interspersed. No reasonable person would conclude that what's being proposed is in any way consistent with that description. The rezoning will result in almost twice the rate of growth for redevelopment than originally planned, and Regent Park of all neighborhoods should not be asked to take on this kind of unsupportable new density when local schools, daycares, social supports, and services already can't meet local needs. When the redevelopment launched nearly 2 decades ago, it was meant to take 12 to 15 years to complete, which included replacing all 2,083 units of original housing and adding 3,300 units, market units, to the mix. The last rezoning in 2014 added 2,000 more market units, pushing that timeline by a decade. Since then, even more market units have been quietly added, and this latest plan will add hundreds more and many more years of delays. Nearly 2 decades in, only 1,200 of the original RGI units have been rebuilt here versus nearly 4,000 market units, although the exact number isn't clear because TCH has never fully reported on this redevelopment to City Council or the public. As a result, hundreds of residents have remained in old social housing for years longer than planned, in buildings that are increasingly derelict, abandoned, and unsafe. Hundreds of others have been displaced, still waiting to come back, or have given up hope of ever returning. And hundreds more, given new units here, are presently underhoused because 70% of family-sized units have been pushed to the final phases to defer costs. And in the midst of a housing crisis, hundreds of units in the old buildings have stood empty for years. There are now imminent plans to demolish these buildings with no timeline in place for starting or completing the development of this land, including the 600 units of the original housing still remaining to be rebuilt there. In addition, thousands have bought homes here in good faith, believing the city would develop according to plans, but now we face years of additional delays, huge amounts of new construction, and a massive concentration of tall towers. When Tridel won the contract to develop the final phases of Regent Park, they offered over $26 million in community benefits. We've been told repeatedly this is unrelated to the rezoning, which was only conceived of after the fact. We've been told new benefits will accrue as a result of this latest plan, but the space for new affordable housing and a new library branch was already promised during the last rezoning, and none of this is being paid for by the developer. There's some expanded community space on offer, but now we're hearing that some of that $26 million will be used to develop it. So what exactly is being offered to this community in return for this massive increase in density and tower height?
Stephanie, yeah? I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to stop there. I'm so sorry. Are there any questions for Stephanie? No? Seeing none? Stephanie, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. That concludes the list I have for deputants on this item. Are there any other members of the public who wish to make a deputation on this item? No? Seeing none? Oh, sure. Yep. Come on forward. Hi, if you could just tell us your name, please.
Hello, my name is Ali El-Chanti. I'm a resident of Regent Park. I just like to pay attention for the council about the housing problems. No, nobody mentioned about the homeless people. You see, not building affordable houses is a big problem. It's making mental and social problems. This is even the youth people, they are under stress because of the not affordable houses or not affordable renting. This is how we're going to build a society which the people are worried about high rent or high pay of houses. This is, I think, the developers should think, should not think of only themselves, how to make more money. They should think of the other people. And we should, all of us, work as one group, the developers and the public. If the developers keep thinking of just making more money, the boat is sinking. The boat is drowning. And all of us, all of them, the developers and the public, will drown. This is a big issue and should be think of the future of the young generation, of the young people. Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out all of our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website.